So the extreme hyzer, personally, I use it sometimes in the woods with a disc like this. You saw how much it flipped up. It almost turned over with that much hyzer. But what I like to do is I'll throw it on maybe a little bit less hyzer, and I'll throw it out to the right and have it come left. So basically, it's a turnover, and the purpose is to get a little bit more control, and I really like it in the woods. Or how you saw in that flight before, it went pretty much dead straight. You can get a really straight flight throwing it like this. You can get a lot of discs that go completely straight throwing it other ways. I would say the most useful application for the extreme hyzer would actually be trying to play the wind. You're getting out of trouble. You're throwing something like a driver, and you're throwing it kind of up in the air and having the wind take it. That would be the most realistic situation, personally, I think, for using the extreme hyzer. But like if you're throwing a putter or something off the tee and you want some control in the woods and it's a flippy putter, you know how it flies, I would recommend the extreme hyzer once you have been playing for a little bit. Because this one, I think you're gonna have to practice the most, because you really have to get your body down a little bit to be able to release the disc on this angle. It's not getting down there and then throwing it flat. You'll see a lot of people when they throw a sidearm, they'll kind of like get down because they know that the pros for some reason get down, but really they're just using their body to angle the disc, right? But the extreme hyzer, you're kind of all the way down here, and flat, you're right here. So hyzer, you're here, extreme hyzer, and so on. So I'm gonna try the extreme hyzer for you again real quick. All right, that one was pretty bad. Now we're gonna move on to the hyzer. This is the sidearm shot that I think is thrown incorrectly the most. A lot of people who want a sidearm hyzer, a left to right shot, they're gonna take an overstable disc and they're gonna throw it flat or even turned over, and they're just gonna expect it to fight out, and that's, you know, fine for the most part. But to actually throw a hyzer, we're gonna wanna release the disc on a hyzer angle. Now, you can throw a driver with this type of throw. What I'm throwing right here is a mid-range, so I'm actually throwing a hyzer flip type shot, and it just ends up going straight. But I think the main takeaway for hyzer, even though there's a ton of useful applications for it, is that to truly throw a hyzer, you have to release it on a hyzer angle. It's not just throw it up in the air and have it hyzer. So I think if we're technically speaking, you have to get that down. So I'll go ahead and throw it for you. So that one was a little bit low, but anyways, now we're gonna move on to the flat shot. This is probably the most standard sidearm throw. You can use it for basically anything. Flat shots are probably best with a more stable to overstable disc, because you're trying to just get a dead straight flight with a little bit of fade at the end. Maybe if you throw a slightly more understable disc like we're going to next, you'll get more of a turnover effect. But when I think of a flat shot, I think of just dead straight and flat. You can use it low ceilings, pretty much anything controlled. This isn't going to be the most distance on the course, but it's going to be the most accurate. Now, unfortunately for this flat shot, I probably would have thrown a red disc, but it's a little bit dark out here. I think you would probably 100% lose it on the camera. So the turnover, in my opinion, is going to get you the most distance air shot wise on the disc golf course, not in the field. There's shots you can do in the field that are gonna get you more distance, but the turnover is great for shot shaping, and it's also going to give you a lot of distance, because instead of the force over, which you're forcing that angle from the get-go, the turnover is gonna naturally turn over, and usually it'll come back at the end. It doesn't always have to, but this is something where you see someone for backhand, they'll start it out to the left or flat and they'll just ride right. So for sidearm, it'd start off to the right or go straight and then ride left. Maybe it'd finish out at the end. And I would say some advice for this shot, you'll probably have to practice a little bit. You'll have to get that sidearm form down. If you want to learn how to throw sidearm, I have a video on that on my channel. Go ahead, check it out. But I would say that you want to experiment with the disc and find one that you can throw reliably and that you know is going to turn over. And what I'd really recommend is you get an overstable disc that happens to flip, right? So I have an overstable mold, the Banshee, but it's DX and very old, so it has the tendency to flip a lot. All right, not the greatest throw, but you can see it turn over the whole time. And lastly in this video, we have the force over. I've got the Discmania tilt, probably the most ridiculous and exaggerated example to use for this type of shot. But essentially the force over, you're starting it on an anhyzer just before you would start getting into those roller angles. So it's basically almost a roller, and you're really coming over the top, and you're using your shoulder a lot to get this thing moving. And personally, I like the force over for really low ceiling shots that end up having to skip. So let's do it. Well, I threw that straight in the ground, and the Discmania tilt ended up flat and skipped off the ground. All right, guys, that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I still got one secret shot for you. All right, it's not very easy, especially when it's cold, to do an air bounce, but I've been working on sidearm air bounce for no reason. All right, I'll see you guys.